Hello, beautiful people. Happy weekend and welcome to your astrological forecast for the upcoming week, predominantly focused on the new moon in Gemini, because this is how we will begin the new week with, even though for some of you it will be happening on Monday, for me here in Eastern Europe on Tuesday. Regardless, it is all happening, new moon in Gemini. And as I'm recording this on Saturday, even though I will be releasing this on Sunday, so that's probably when you're watching it, there is so much going on this weekend that I'm going to go through it all over again, because of course all of these aspects and transits are going to be fully active for this new moon in Gemini, and also some additional ones that will be becoming exact after the new moon in Gemini. So we have a lot to discuss, and this is a very important lunation, considering that this is the first one with Saturn in the sign of Aries, because by the time you're watching this, Saturn will have just entered the sign of Aries for the first time since 1999. So this is a big shift of energy for us. So without further ado, let me just tune in and open this space, calling on my higher self, my spirit guides, ancestors, ascended masters, angelic team, all the beings of light that wish to be present, also the Akashic record keepers, if they have anything that they wish to contribute towards this co-creation. Thank you everyone for being here. And thank you everyone who is watching. So as I mentioned, I am recording this on Saturday, so I'm going to start where we at. So we actually entered this weekend with moon in the sign of Aries, which is all about new cycles. And yesterday Mercury made a positive aspect to the lunar nodes, sextile to the north node, that Mercury conjuncted three times throughout this spring, throughout March and April, because Mercury was retrograde and trying to south node in Virgo, which is currently ruled by Mercury. That happened yesterday. Then today, on Saturday, when I'm recording this, Sun is making a trine to Pluto, retrograde in Aquarius. And this is a very important aspect because, of course, it will be fully active for this new moon. It will be trined by Pluto. And Moon today, on Saturday, is moving into the sign of Taurus. Also, on Saturday, we are experiencing Mercury conjunct Uranus. So Mercury will be in a new phase conjunction with Uranus by the time we are experiencing this new moon in Gemini. And as I already mentioned, Saturn is moving into the sign of Aries. And this is a very, very important thing, because Saturn is the manifested reality, is the authority, and it's also our maturation. So to give you some dates, Saturn was in Aries last time between 1996 and 1999. It was retrograde between, June and October 1998. So it re-entered back into the sign of Pisces. But yeah, first time entered the sign of Aries 1996, April 6th, and then exited the sign of Aries on 28th of February 1999. So this is the first ingress of Saturn into the sign of Aries since then. And Saturn will be in the sign of Aries for this run until September 1st, which is right before the eclipse in Pisces. And then Saturn will re-enter the sign of Aries on either February 13th or 14th, again, depending where you are in the world, of 2026. And then subsequently, we will have the new moon solar eclipse in Aquarius on February 17th, 2026. And after that, also Saturn will have the conjunction with Neptune, the exact one, on 0 degree and some minutes of Aries. And Saturn will remain in the sign of Aries after that until April 13th of 2028, and will not re-enter Aries until 23rd of March 2055. And by that point, we will have Pluto in the sign of Pisces, and Saturn then will remain in the sign of Aries until 2058. So yeah, so these are just some dates with regards to Saturn, but let's just keep going. So Sunday, the 25th, which is probably when you're watching this, Mercury, as the rule of this upcoming new moon, will be entering the sign of Gemini. So Mercury will be very active participant of his own new moon. And right after that, Mercury will make a sextile to Saturn in Aries, 0 degrees and 4 minutes. Then Monday, the 26th, Moon will move into the sign of Gemini in preparation for this new moon. And still before this new moon, we will experience Mercury making a sextile to Neptune in Aries, 1 degrees 46 minutes. And then after that, once again, depending where you are in the world, for me, it will be already Tuesday, the 27th. We will experience the new moon in Gemini, which is seeding the new timelines. And then also right after that, Mercury will have an exact trine to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. And then on Wednesday, Moon will move into the sign of Cancer. And Thursday, Mercury will have a conjunction with the Sun on 9 degrees and 1 minute of Gemini. And the last conjunction between Sun and Mercury took place when Mercury was retrograde in March, 24th of March, which was right in between the eclipses. And it happened in Aries on 4 degrees and 25 minutes. Then on Friday, Moon will move into sign of Leo, which is all about our authentic expression. So this will be the first sextile, since the Moon. So the waxing crescent, right? This is when I was born under the waxing crescent, right? And on the same day, we'll experience Mars making a square to Juno. Well, for some of us, it will be already on Saturday. And then on Saturday, also Venus will make a sextile to Pallas. And then on Sunday, next Sunday, we will enter into a brand new month, June the 1st. And on that day, Venus will make a conjunction to Chiron, 25 degrees and 44 minutes of Aries. And the last conjunction between the two took place on April 21st, 2024, which was right after the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus, ruled by Venus at the time. And that conjunction between Venus and Chiron took place on 20 degrees and 9 minutes. And I just have written here that on the same day, 21st of April, 2024, Sun also made a square to Pluto. And then we will end the week for some of us with Moon still in the sign of Leo, but for some of you guys, especially you in the US, Moon will already enter into the sign of Virgo, which is a mutable sign. So this is where things are going to start changing again, going from the fixed to mutable, because we are entering into we are already in a mutable season of Gemini, but we are entering into this new energy of post a Gemini New Moon, which is all about choosing this future timeline. So without any more details about that, let's just look at the chart and talk about whatever comes with regards to this chart. So this is the chart based on my current location, which is Bansko, Bulgaria. So for me, as I already mentioned, this new moon is actually happening in the early hours of Tuesday, the 27th, which is 6 o'clock and 2 minutes in the morning. So this is a moon that is resetting the new moon that was last year on the 6-6 portal, actually. So we had the new moon in Gemini on the 6-6-2024. And during that time, actually, Jupiter and Mercury just had a conjunction literally a few days before. I think it was on June the 4th. So we can see that at the time also, just like now, the moon was, technically, it was trined by Pluto by the stellium, because Pluto was trining Jupiter almost exact, and Jupiter was conjunct Mercury, and Mercury was conjunct the new moon. So Pluto was an active participant, but it wasn't exactly trining the moon, but it was trining the stellium that was going on in the sign of Gemini at the time, which is all about the choice. Jupiter was just in his new phase conjunction with Uranus, because they had a conjunction less than 3 weeks before that. We can see Mars was in the sign of Aries, and although the stuff that's going on there, Neptune at the time was already on 29 degrees of Pisces before his retrograde. Saturn still closing phase. That's what's going on still at the moment, but currently they are both in Aries. And at the time, the moon was actually trined by the south node, or south node was trining the moon, whichever way you want to look at it. And Venus, as the ruler of the south node, was in a new phase conjunction. So this is all about seeding this intention to choose new values. And this is what we've been going throughout Venus retrograde, from Aries to Pisces, Pisces to Aries. Now Venus is out of her shadow. So we have much more clarity with regards to what we value, or, what lost value, because Venus was reborn from Pisces, going back to Aries, and also Mercury, being a sign of Gemini as the ruler of the moon, was in a closing phase conjunction to the moon. So the old program that we were operating on in 2024 is no longer working, right? It has to change. Then we had the full moon in Gemini on December 15th, 2024, which was actually the first full moon after Pluto re-entered Aquarius for the final time. We can see Pluto here is on 0 degrees, 34 minutes of Aquarius. Before that was just new moon in Sagittarius, but this was the first full moon. So this was an illumination of whatever got seeded in June 6, 2024. And we can see that, the moon was conjunct by Jupiter. It was actually in a new phase with Jupiter. Jupiter is the storyteller, as we know. and Jupiter at the time was squared with Saturn. They had the triple square, I believe. And yeah, for Jupiter, this is the first quarter square, which is the crisis in action. What do we need to do? We need to change the story. We need to change the way we perceive the story. And with Mercury being in the sign of Sagittarius, mutual reception, yeah, they had the mutual reception going on there. Also because Mercury then was retrograde as well. Jupiter already here is retrograde. So we were reevaluating throughout that period of time when Jupiter was retrograde, which was until February 2025. That's where we at, right? We were reevaluating these old stories. Is this something that we want to keep re-experiencing? Because Jupiter stationed direct when he was already the ruler of the North Node traditionally, right? Because Jupiter is the traditional ruler of Pisces. Does it still hold the meaning? So yes, so in June 2024, we got seeded with the idea that, okay, there is something that has to change the way we perceive in reality because it's outdated, right? Mercury was in the closing phase as the ruler. Then we had this illumination, Mercury in opposition with Jupiter, mutual reception, right? Which is all about like, okay, so how are we balancing that which we desire with what we perceiving? And this is where we are at now. We are seeing this new intention, these new timelines, because now everything changed. Now Saturn, Neptune are already in the sign of Aries. This is a very different energy from the previous, which was with the Saturn and Neptune both in the sign of Pisces still. Yeah, and then obviously the next time when we have a Gemini lunation, which will be the full moon in Gemini on December 5th of this year, I mean, everybody will be already in their former signs, back Saturn, Neptune back into the sign of Pisces, Uranus back in the sign of Taurus for the final retrograde for all of them. Chiron still in the sign of Aries retrograde. Chiron is actually going to go retrograde soon, I believe next month or in July. And yeah, at the time, what else we got going on here? Yeah, there was the well, what else we got going on there? What else we will have going on there? We will have the Grand Mutable Cross. Grand Mutable Cross. There will be a lot of pressure for change. So yeah, so this will be obviously by the end of the year. So whatever we will be choosing now, you know, like we will have to obviously make some adjustments. And also, as you can see, the full moon in Gemini upcoming, you know, in December will be exactly squaring the lunar nodes. Exactly. So both the sun and the moon, so technically the full moon will be the skip step. Skip step. So, you know, however that's going to play out. And then by the time this cycle that we see it in now is going to be reset, which is June 15th, 2026. And also, I mean, you know, this is Bulgarian time. So for some people, it will be June 14th, same with the full moon. For some folks, it will be on December 4th, because you can see here, it's in the early hours of the morning. So yeah, again, you know, this is just rough ideas because depending where you are in your life at that time, right? So yeah, by the time we are resetting the cycle, we are seeing now by June 15th, 2026 or June 14th, 2026, we will have everybody in the new signs already. Everybody in a new signs, and there will be the exact square between Uranus and the lunar nodes. So Uranus will be the skip step. Uranus as the ruler of Pluto. Uranus already at the time in the sign of Gemini on number 2, which is the choice. Pointing to the North Node in the sign of Pisces, which is like, what are we releasing, right? Because the Neptune Saturn already in a new phase conjunction. So anyway, so this is jumping too far into the future. So let's just go back to right here and right now, which is this new moon in Gemini with everything I just named in full operation over there, right? So most important to mention, obviously, is the Pluto making a trine. Pluto is supporting this new moon in Gemini. Pluto currently being retrograde is accelerating our evolution, making us to, you know, choose wisely. And as we can see, again, Mercury is in a closing phase. Mercury is in a closing phase, just like it was exactly 1 year ago, closing phase to this new moon in Gemini, but in a new phase conjunction with Uranus. But we know that Sun and Uranus just had their final conjunction in the sign of Taurus, like literally only like well, you know, week ago and some prior to this lunation, because it was on May 17th, right? May 17th, Sun and Uranus had their final conjunction. This Uranus is technically still conjunct this new moon, even though because it is within the 10-degree orb, even though it is out of sign conjunction, and we have this poor Mercury squashed there in the middle, new phase to Uranus, which is saying, okay, the old foundation is is obviously being dismantled. Uranus being by this stage on Gemini decan of the Gemini degree of the Capricorn decan of the sign of Taurus. So this foundation that we are experiencing at the moment being created by the external authority, but now we becoming our own authority, right? With this Saturn on 0 degrees and 8 minutes, the strength and the Scorpio degree. Degree, I mean the minute, we are being initiated to step into our own power and becoming the conscious creator of our reality, right? So with this Mercury being in a new phase conjunction to Uranus, and Uranus being on a Capricorn decan and Gemini degree of Taurus, we need to choose something different, because the reality we are experiencing at the moment has been created by external authority, and this is no longer going to be working for us going forward, right? So that's why Pluto is trining this moon, because it's saying like, yeah, we have to go beyond that. We have to go beyond this program, because Uranus over here is getting ready to go into Gemini soon, right? Literally by this point, it's less than 2 months. So Uranus here is, getting ready. Already new phase conjunction with Mercury. We'll have also a conjunction with Venus coming up soon, still in the sign of Taurus. So Venus is the ruler. I believe it might be actually on the 29 degrees as well. And Venus here is gearing up for her conjunction with Chiron, which of course is happening exact, at the end of the week on June 1st. June 1st. So Venus closing to Chiron. Chiron is the key between Saturn and Uranus, and Venus just was reborn, right? She had her retrograde. She was just reborn. She's in the sign of Aries. This is already Sagittarius decan. Look at that, 2020. Isn't that interesting? 2020, right? 2020, the clear vision. 2020. Also, what happened in 2020? We had the last Saturn and Pluto conjunction in the sign of Capricorn, right? And I just recorded video for Lada about Saturn in Aries. And I looked at the next Saturn and Pluto conjunction, which will be actually happening in Pisces, right? It will be happening in Pisces in, I think it was 2053, 54. Yeah, 2053, throughout 2053 and 2054, because obviously they both go retrograde for like 5-6 months. So yeah, it's interesting that Venus here is on 20 degrees. So let's apply some clear vision with regards to this reality, this story, right? Because again, Venus being on Sagittarius decan and Jupiter over here being on Aquarian decan of Gemini, Aquarius, just like here, Pluto sitting on Aquarius 3 degrees, Jupiter degree. I mean, Gemini degree with regards to astrology, but it's a number associated with Jupiter, which is all about expansion. And we can see Jupiter is still squaring the lunar nodes. Obviously, the exact square already took place, but it's still in action only 2 degrees away, pointing to the north node, right? Which is exactly what's going to be happening with Uranus next year. Not on the same degree, but Uranus will be squaring the nodes pointing to the north node. So, and the full moon, right? The full moon will be squared by the sun and the moon. The full moon will be squaring the nodes, again, squaring the nodes. So moon will be pointing to the north node as a resolution node. The sun will be pointing to the south node as the resolution node. And at the time, in December 2025, we'll have Mercury in the sign of Scorpio. Right, and Scorpio, this is 22 degrees, that's a Capricorn degree, and it's the Cancer decan. So it's again about the same thing, Cancer Capricorn. You have to become your own authority. You have to become your own conscious creator of reality. And yeah, be ready that there will be a lot of adjustments, a lot of things to learn, a lot of things that will have to change, and with this Uranus over here squaring the nodes, it will be the final one, before the nodes obviously shift, which will be the following month, right? Following month, 2026, July 2026. They will shift into the sign of Aquarius and Leo. So again, going back to this chart, right? Because we jump in too many timelines over here. So Jupiter is squaring the nodes. Jupiter is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is the ruler of this moon, right? Mercury is in the new phase conjunction with Uranus. Uranus is the ruler of, Pluto over here, and also Jupiter is on Aquarian decan of Gemini, right? So we have all this in action over here. Also, Jupiter is on Taurus decan, and Uranus is in the sign of Taurus. So, I mean, we can see how everything is connected over here. Jupiter is in a new phase conjunction with this moon. I mean, 20 degrees, never mind. Obviously, the Sun and Jupiter conjunction will take place 3 weeks later. In the sign of Cancer, actually, it will not take place in the sign of Gemini. Jupiter and Sun are not having conjunction in Gemini at all. Their last conjunction was in Taurus. The next one will be in the sign of Cancer. Excuse me. So yeah, so we have Jupiter in a new phase conjunction, which is saying you have to choose a different story. Okay, the old story is outdated. Look, Neptune is already in the sign of Aries, and Mars over here is in the sign of Leo on Sagittarius Decan. We have to create a new story. That's it. We don't have a choice. Also, this is six. That's a Virgo degree, and we have the South Node in Virgo. So learn from the past. With the Sun, you don't have to make the same choice. Look at this Moon; it's on 6 degrees. Here it's showing 6.5, which is 11, which is great. But actually, in some other places, it's actually saying that this Moon is on 6 degrees 6 minutes, which I was geeking out about because, of course, last year we had the new Moon in Gemini on 6.6. 6 6 June 6. So when I saw that, oh, cool, the new moon is on 6 degrees 6 minutes. Last year it was on 6 6, on 6 6 portal. But on this chart it's showing that it's 6 5, but still good, it's 11. We take it. Yeah, here 11. We take it. We take the 11, the master number frequency. So in any case, this Mars that is trining this Venus, as I already mentioned in my little videos, this is the second trine they are sharing this year. They already had trine on January 25th, 2025, which was right before the new moon in Aquarius, which was also the same day we entered into the Chinese lunar year of the snake, right? The wood snake. What are we doing? It's shedding. This whole year is about shedding. This learning and adjusting based on, well, what did we learn? What did we learn from the past? The old program that doesn't work, because it's based on this structure of reality that was created by external authority and made us feel that you had no say, you had no voice, you had no right to decide for yourself because of all these identities that we were being plastered onto, that said like, this is who you are, this is your purpose, blah, blah, blah. I already talked about it many times, many times. So now with this Mars, as the ruler, as the ruler of Saturn and Neptune, I mean, okay, they both going back into their former signs, Saturn in September, Neptune in October, but from next year. Neptune is going back into the sign of Aries in January, Saturn in February. Okay. So from next year, Mars will be the ruler, of Saturn until 28, right? 28 it was, and Neptune that's, in other, what is it, 12 years. So where are we? So yeah, like 38, I think. So yeah, so we have quite a while to go, and Mars will be the ruler. Mars will be the ruler. So this is the initiation. What are we initiation? We are initiating. We are initiating a whole new chapter for humanity. You can say like, oh yeah, but we're doing that every year with new moon in Gemini, and we're making a choice, like, and also Gemini in opposition with Sag, we always initiating a new perspective, a new way of looking at reality. Obviously that's why Mercury goes retrograde 4 times a year, because it always makes us learn. It always makes us reevaluate and make a new choice under all circumstances, because it's like, is this working for me? Squares to Virgo, discerning, like, is this useful? Is this effective? Is this efficient? And then Pisces, if not, we have to let it go. Okay, we have to let it go. So we have this beautiful trine from Pluto, which is saying, yep, this is exactly it. There are many, many, many timelines, many, many options, many things available to choose from. One thing is for sure, you cannot choose the old same thing, because it's not going to work, because look what's going to happen by December. You either choose or you'll be pushed to choose, right? Because the nodes will be squaring the moon. I mean, this is like crazy. This is crazy. The nodes will be squaring the moon. Exact. I mean, exact. 13 degrees. 13 degrees. That's a death card in tarot, which is about the death and rebirth, right? And 13 degrees, that's an Aries degree, right? And that's for, obviously, for the sign is the second decan, or wherever it is, Capricorn decan here. This will be Cancer decan, Libra decan, and for such, this is Aries decan, right? So yeah, so these are all cardinal decans. Okay, so let me just keep on track, because I just keep getting too excited about future timelines. All right, so we can see that we have some inconjunction going on here. So inconjunction between Chiron, which is the key, Saturn and Uranus, right? Takes us from the manifested form, which is the outcome of the past, and Uranus, which is the going beyond, the rule of Pluto. And Uranus, gearing up, going into Gemini, Uranus 29 degrees, 27 degrees, number 9. Like, I'm done with Taurus, okay? Taurus is almost dismantled, almost, not fully, but almost. So that's why we still have a little bit of time, we still have some foundation under our feet of the old times, of the Piscean is still holding, but not for much longer, because once Uranus moves into Gemini, well, let's just see. Let's just see what's going to happen. It's going to be a little bit of taster of the future. But yeah, fully next April 2026, April 26, 2026, Uranus back in the sign of Gemini for the next 8 years. All right. So yeah, so we have this what I was talking about. Okay, in conjunction, yeah, in conjunction from South Node to Chiron, yeah, we can't see. Why we can't see? Because we're not going where we were. We're not going there, like this Mercury is close into this moon. It's saying like, no, we're not going there. We cannot keep applying the same level of consciousness because we will keep creating the same future. And that is not possible. That is not in alignment. We cannot keep doing that because it's finished, with the Saturn on 0 degree, anuretic degree, and Neptune on 1 degree, the magician degree. And what we got here, 1 and 0. 10, right? 10, the reset, right? The next year, 2026. I don't know how many videos, and it keeps coming up. Every video it keeps coming up. This is a preparation for next year. So pay attention because you're choosing your future timelines. You're making the choice. You're making the choice. You see it in your future timeline. The number 6, the balance and harmony. Also something I forgot to mention, during my video for Lada about Saturn in Aries is that it comes in opposition with Libra. Why is all of this happening? Why is all of this happening? It's because look at the state of the world and all the crises we are experiencing on every level. But that's not all there is, okay? Let's just not go into doom and gloom because there's so much beauty as well. But there are a lot of things that needs to be neutralized, that needs to be balanced. A lot of, yes, unfairness, injustice. So this is why Saturn is going into Aries, because it will trigger the 0 point of Libra too. The 0 point of Aries is automatically triggering the 0 point of Libra, which is saying that, oh yeah, this is another opportunity for us to balance things, to bring into balance that which is out of balance, free ourselves from these old contracts, old timelines, which we've been reliving, recreating, and re-experiencing for thousands of years, and we can now balance it. We can choose a different timeline, we can choose a different contract, because obviously Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, they trine each other, right? That is the grand air trine. So anyway, I'm sure there's something going on in Libra, but let's see. Is there anything going on in Libra? No. Well, I'm sure there is some asteroid, something somewhere, but yeah, I don't have anything going on here. But anyway, okay, so what else we going on here? We've got a Lilith still trining. Lilith is trining North Node, very good, because North Node is all about healing here in Pisces. So is South Node in Virgo. On both level, we heal in the body, we heal in the soul. It's all connected always. We heal in the human world and we support it in expansion of the spirit world. It's all connected. So yeah, this Lilith also, that's the other in conjunction. Yes, so the in conjunction, let's go back to that. We can't see because we're not going where we've been, so that's why we have to trust, this Chiron on Sagittarius Decan and Aries degrees, right? You just have to be the fool and just go for it, like that. Nobody's gonna show you, nobody's gonna give you a manual, nobody's gonna give you a blueprint. You just have to trust how you feel and just make the choice, leap into the unknown, right? But it's not gonna be, so with the Mercury on 2 degrees, yeah, that's exactly where Uranus is gonna be next year. Look at that, 2 degrees, 52 minutes. It's almost exact, like, yeah. Yeah, it's a 220 here. Oh my God, 220 and 2020. Like, what the heck, seriously, like, this is just like, you can't make this up, I'm just like every time, you can't make this up. Yeah, and of course, Mars is still squaring this Lilith, good old Lilith. So yeah, they have an exact square going on here at the moment. On what? 18 degrees. Come on, another number 9. 18, 9, and 29, 11, 9, 11, SOS, SOS, like, yeah, it's time. It's time to heal this. It's time to look at this because we cannot change. We cannot heal what we are unaware of. We cannot. Because if we don't want to see it, the shadow, if we don't want to see it, then how can we change it? We can't change it. It's just going to keep hiding and keep being triggered and coming up in the most, unexpected times and very often inconvenient too. So, yeah, so the other in conjunction, it would be yod by the Venus Chiron conjunction over here. But yeah, based on the in conjunction, not exactly. But yeah, anyway, so based on this second in conjunction, the Lilith to Venus, this Venus in Sagittarius Decan of Aries is like, okay, well, This is all about non-judgment now. Like, yes, everybody has their values, their needs, everybody needs something different. This is Sagittarius Decan, with a 2020 vision. So this Venus is looking at things differently now. She's gone through Pisces, she conjuncted North Node in Pisces 3 times. She conjuncted Saturn in Pisces 3 times. She conjuncted Neptune in Pisces twice and once in, Aries. So this Venus, and also she sextiled Pluto 3 times, and I believe she did something to Uranus. Yes, sextile to Uranus 3 times. Like, I mean, Venus was so busy, so was Mercury, throughout the retrograde. It was just crazy stuff going on there. So yeah, so with this Venus on 2020, making, in the exact, well, not exact, but in conjunction still with this Lilith over there, and Lilith obviously traditionally being ruled by Mars, Mars is in trine with Venus, and by, modern astrology, modern evolutionary astrology as well, being ruled by Pluto, and Pluto and Venus, they're not communicating at the moment, but, Pluto here is making a sextile to Neptune and also Saturn still, like, even though not exact, but already, it's already happening, it will be exact. So, yeah, and this is the first sextile, which is the Taurus, the foundation. There is something completely new, something completely different, something you've never experienced before. And we have a choice. Yeah, let's go to the choice. The number 6, Venus degree. Venus degree. It's a number associated with Venus, numerologically, which is about the balance and harmony, right? Relationships. But based on the astrology is the Virgo degree adjustments, and yeah, interesting that next time we have the Gemini thing going on there, we'll have the grand mutable cross. So the 6 degrees, these 6 degrees Gemini, this is all about harmonizing through making a new choice, because like I said, this 0 point Aries is triggering 0 point Libra. So we have an opportunity to do something different, to balance the scales by doing something we haven't done before, because Aries and Mars, in Leo, which is about creation. You have to go and create it, like something new, something different. This is a Sagittarius Decan, which is helping to co-create this different story, the foundation for the future. This something that is going to take us beyond these old stories, these old experiencing of reality that we've all had many, many, many lifetimes, many, many, many lifetimes. We all have a memory of that. We all have a memory of sorrow and war and betrayal and jealousy and sadness and grief and depression and suppression. We all remember all of that. Okay. We all remember all of that. And many of us remember it even from this lifetime. Okay. But I'm sure, when you tune in deep within your heart, deep within your soul, the heart, the Leo, still pointing to your heart, being in the sign of Leo, and the sun being in the sign of Gemini, the choice, we also can remember the other times, the times that your soul remembers where you were happy, where this wasn't the case, the whispers of your soul that say it doesn't have to be this way. We can always choose. Just like now, we can choose how we look at this situation. We can choose how we choose to interpret or decipher anything. I'm choosing to interpret this astrological chart the way I'm choosing to interpret it. Like, you can interpret it in a million different ways. You can go and watch 5, 10 different videos about new moon in Gemini and probably hear a different interpretation. And it's all right. It's all correct because it's Gemini. It's mutable. And Sagittarius Jupiter also. It's all about what is your filter, what is your perception, what is your language as well, the Mercury, the language. And language will become irrelevant, in the upcoming times, I don't know, 100 years, 200 years, to who knows, how many 100 years, but eventually there will be no verbal communication. Everything will be telepathic. The spoken and the voice will be used for creation, because that's what it was originally used for. The sound of the universe that created, right? So anyway, so this is going into different rabbit holes, but yes, the Lilith and the Venus, they in conjunction, yeah, when we look through the lens of the shadow, right, and through the lens of the old story, and through the lens of the trigger, and through the lens of the trauma, the trauma loop response that lives within every one of us, whether you experience anything traumatic in this life or not, doesn't matter, because we are all tapped into the collective consciousness, especially now with this North Node in Pisces, like everybody's tapped in. So yeah, so there is an in conjunction which is saying, yeah, with the 2020 vision, if you look at it through this lens, that we will not see that there is a different way. We will not see that there is a different story unfolding. We will not see that there is a different potential direction. All we will see is just the heartbreak. You know, the Mars in Leo, the heartbreak, the old story recreating itself over and over and over again. You know, this is the square, this is the challenge. And that's why many of us are re experiencing that, you know, whether it's through your personal interaction or, you know, triggers based on what's going on in the world or whatever it is bringing to the surface this heartbreak, you know, this wounded aspect of humanity, this Lilith, because it has to be healed, right? Lilith is making a trine to North Node because it has to be healed, because if we don't heal it, and this is something I can share from my personal experience and what I've been going through personally, if we don't heal it, then we still holding on to these old things that are taking up the space that can be filled with something different. But it cannot while this old stuff is taking the space. It cannot. So that's why all of these things that are resurfacing and chasing after us, you know, when we feel like so upset about it, including myself, that why is this happening to me? You know, why is this coming around? Why am I experiencing this over and over and over and over again? It's a blessing, you know. So this is the thing, this is the choice, you know, this is the choice over here, you know, with the Aries to this moon, with the North Node and Uranus, you know, North Node still trining the South Node, sextiling the North Node. This is the choice. We can choose to look at it like, why is this happening to me? Why is my life like this? Why is the world like this? Or we can look at it as, oh, that is the opportunity to heal it, to release this energy, 0 point of Libra, to balance the old karma, you know, to the stuck energy, the energy that's unresolved, that it's extreme, right? Extreme energy, because Libra and many Libran people, they know that they're not naturally balanced. They're not all harmonious, sitting in lotus position all day long. No, they go through a lot of crises trying to please everyone, and then losing themselves, or then focusing on themselves and feeling disconnected, to try to find a middle point. Like, okay, how do I have me and also feel that I belong without having to have to sacrifice? This is what's going on here. You know, how you as a soul being embodied in a physical body can have the experience on this planet without sacrificing, just by living your life, you know, with the namaste. I honor you. I honor you have a different story, different values, different needs, but we can still coexist together. We don't have to go kill each other, you know, just because somebody believes something different. And yeah, you know, we can say, well, explain it to that group or that group. If I don't do something, they attack me. So yeah, at some point, well, this all will have to end, because this, you know, going back and forth and just reacting to this what is, this is just gonna keep recreating the same thing, and we're done with that. So yeah, so again, going back to the choice, we can choose to look at all of this stuff that's going on in the world and in your personal life through the lens of victimhood. Yeah. Or we can choose to look at it from the way of like, oh, thank you that you bringing this to my attention again, so I can look at it again and maybe heal another layer and release more space and create this opening in my heart for something new to come in, right? And this is the timelines, this is the choice, right? I was listening to very amazing channel from Lee Harris, and that's someone that I mention quite often, because, you know, just like Joe Dispenza, Lee Harris also, I find his teachings, you know, his way of being very helpful for me personally, what I'm going through. And there was a very, I'm just, you know, going to paraphrase what came through the channel, which is that when you're experiencing something that is, you know, a lower density state emotionally, you know, like frustration, anger, disappointment, sadness, whatever, then, you know, you can choose. You can choose to say, you know, that I open my heart to go beyond this feeling. And, you know, I'm using something that I heard. So I'm not taking credit for it. This is something that I heard from Lee Harris' channel. So, yes, so you can choose the same thing. You can choose to go beyond that experience, beyond that feeling that, yes, right now I'm experiencing this, you know, whatever that is, dot, dot, dot. But I can choose to go beyond this. Yeah, I'm experiencing this, but this is not all I am. I am not this. I am not this grief. I am not this sadness. I'm not this frustration, but our brain is so strongly wired for survival and repetition, survival through repetition of that which proved to be useful to help us to survive, the old program, that is very difficult, without having the conscious awareness and intention and actually consciously overriding the old program. It's just so easy to fall into the default, like even for someone like me who, I consider myself fairly aware, fairly aware. I'm not saying that I got it all figured out, but fairly aware. Even it is so easy to slip into this all unconscious pattern of feeling victimized by life and just going like, oh, well, this is who I am. This is what always happens to me, and just fall into these old stories, and just like a channeler said to me during my private session, she said that, by saying that you're giving yourself permission. By me saying that to myself, I'm giving myself permission that, well, this is who I am. This is what always happens to me. This is just me, right? So with the Gemini New Moon, this is an opportunity to make a different choice for all of us. Where do I give myself permission to keep recreating the same reality for myself? And then, I just feel kind of justified because this is me. I mean, do I get a brownie point because of the level of suffering or a discomfort that I'm choosing for myself? And then obviously, based on the old story of commiseration, well, everybody else is doing it, everybody else is going through it, so then it must be okay, right? Not anymore, not with Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus moving into Gemini. And yeah, next year, this will be year, the first one, June 15, 2026 or June 14th. This will be the first new moon in Gemini with Uranus in Gemini. So yeah, so this is the time we have. This one and the full moon, which is when we still have Uranus in the sign of Taurus, back in the sign of Taurus, right? This is the full moon, right? Back in the sign of Taurus, Saturn, Neptune back in the sign of Aries, 28 degrees. Right now, Uranus is on 27 degrees. So this is the preparation for the reset. And yeah, the strength, we cultivating the strength, right? And I mean, Uranus will be making a sextile to this Saturn and Neptune. So anyway, yeah, so I don't know, what else should I be talking about, guys? I think, the message is just so clear. I mean, also with this Venus in a new phase conjunction with Saturn and Neptune, like we are seeking things that hold a deeper meaning. We no longer just want to be here to survive, keep doing the same thing, experiencing the same thing. It's just not enough for most of us. It's definitely not enough for the little kids and the teenagers and the young adults. Like, how many Pluto Sagittarius is there? Like, just like, oh, this sucks, man. I don't want to live like this. And then, their grandparents look at them and they go, oh, these kids, they are just lazy. They don't want to work. And these kids are like Pluto Sagittarius is the young adults. They're like, well, why should I? Why should I do what you've done? The times has changed, Grandpa. Like we have so many other things available. And this is not like disrespect. It is because, I mean, it might come across that way, but it's because, like, yeah, because of everything that all generations before them came through and had the desire that I don't want to have to live like this. I want something better for my kids and grandkids. And then here they are, the kids and the grandkids. And they said, yeah, oh, yeah, I want something better for myself. Don't you want something better for me? It's just like, obviously, we all figuring out how to do it. And also because that something better means different things to different people. Just like when my parents say to me that we want better life for you than we had, but then based on their advice, they want me to do exactly what they did and have exactly the life they have. Just like, I don't know, with more money or something. And I'm like, well, but that is not a good life from my perspective. So that's what I mean. It means different things to different people. So we go back to the choice. Yeah, the choice. So with the Mercury close into this new moon and in a new phase conjunction to Uranus, and Uranus also being in a closing phase conjunction to the new moon, this is all about the old story, the old values, the old foundation. Everything is ending because Saturn and Neptune are already in a sign of Aries. It's the first lunation with both of them in the sign of Aries. I mean, obviously, Neptune already has been there for a while since the end of March, but Saturn, right, on the 0 degrees. And Saturn is the structure of reality, right? And we have all of these. I mean, even this 24 degrees. What is this? Oh, this is the Taurus degree. Taurus decan, Pisces degree. But yeah, the Capricorn decan here. Because I was like, okay, what is Saturn involved with? Yeah, it's the Uranus. The Uranus, yes. All right, guys. So I think I'll just leave it at this. So yeah, just remember Jupiter square in the nose, pointing to the north node. The moon is trined by Pluto, sextile by all of these guys over here, more or less. Venus also, it's coming into her sextile with Jupiter, but this is a closing sextile, which is the Aquarian sextile releasing, and Jupiter preparing for his ingress into the sign of Cancer. Yeah, into the sign of Cancer. Yeah, because the next lunation, the full moon in Sag, ruled by Jupiter, will be with Jupiter in the sign of Cancer. And Jupiter will be involved because Jupiter and Sun will have a conjunction just before, right before the full moon in Sagittarius, right? So anyway, so yeah, like I said, I'm going to leave it at this. I'm going to pull some cards in my part two. So if you would like to see what the cards have to say, but yeah, I mean, we have the roof of the kite, but we don't have a kite, but we have the roof, the roof is being built between the Aquarius, Aries, and the Gemini. Yeah, the Aries. There is a new direction. And the direction is helping us, in some cases pushing us, right? Jupiter, ruled by Mercury, Mercury, the ruler of the moon, is pushing us to try something different because that all doesn't work. And it's not gonna work. It's gonna work less and less because once Uranus leaves Taurus, Taurus will be done. Taurus, the foundation will be done. So we only have less than a year, April 26, 2026. That's when Uranus re-enters Gemini. So we have a lot of work to do, with this South Node in Virgo. We already done a lot of work, a lot of healing, more yet to be done because it is the year number 9. So this is the year to do it. And we are moving into this quantum leaps into the new timelines because with Uranus moving into Gemini, there is no limit, there is no top, there is no roof, there is no cap on the timelines, So yeah, so from next about July 2026, 2025, you're already tapping into the timelines of the 2026. So yeah, choose wisely, right? Choose wisely. So all the pressure and all the old experiences and stories are just helping us to choose something different. So what are you going to choose, right? What is anybody going to choose? That's the Aries. It's gonna differ. Okay, guys. So really, really gonna leave it at that. Thank you for watching. If you're interested in booking a reading of any kind with me, I can do pretty much anything. So yeah, you can find the details on my website. You can reach out. I don't have many appointments available until about July. I can squeeze some in, but I have a lot of things going on with my personal life. So I have some available before I set on the roads again and stuff. But yeah, July, August, I'm fully open. But before then, there is, there is less available. So just email me or something. But anyway, have a great new moon in Gemini. If you're curious to hear about the card, check out the part 2. If not, thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. And yeah, choose whatever it is that you desire to experience going forward. Much love to everyone and bye for now.